Happening in the community and tells you how you can use that to your real estate advantage. And now, here's your host, Dick Barr.
Hello, Lake County. This is your host, Dick Barr, here with another episode of Unlocking Lake County. And here with my beautiful co-host, Christin Kaufman. Say hello.
Hello, hello.
And special guest in the studio, Lake Villa Township Supervisor, Dan Venturi.
Hello, everybody.
Uh-oh. Do we hear him?
I did not.
Hello, everybody.
Just kidding. He's not actually here.
Try it again.
Hello, everybody.
We got you now. Sorry, I hit the wrong button on. So your opponent asked me to screw with your voice.
I appreciate that.
No problem.
You like a challenge.
Thanks for coming into the studio. The weather could be better. Kristen?
Yeah, I agree.
I thought you said you love the cold.
I like the cold. I don't like the bitter freezing cold when you can't even enjoy it.
Well, Sly's not in the studio today because he hates Illinois so much. He went north.
Oh.
He's up in the UP. If it's 2 below today here, I don't know what it is up north.
Yeah, but I wonder if the climate's any different, though, where he's at, because even if it's cold, if it's not, just cutting through you the way it is right now here.
Although he's probably on a snowmobile going 70 miles an hour.
All bundled
so
up.
It's definitely.
The wind chill is quite a bit more.
Sure, but you got the adrenaline going and you're doing it by choice. You're not just standing outside waiting for your kid at the bus stop being like, when is this over?
Exactly.
Why is the wind making me cry?
My kid, what does that say? Why do I live in a climate where my face hurts?
It hurts where the wind hurts my face.
Yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm coming through okay. I sound a little. How's your your headphones there, Dan? Are they too loud?
They're a little bit loud, but that's okay.
Okay, if I'm going to bring it down a hair, how are you, Kristen?
I'm great.
Yeah, you're always great.
I'm great.
You just go with the flow.
Yeah.
So smooth.
That's me. That's what they say. Super chill.
That's
real
why
laid back.
I think we're good on appointments together because I'm like, get it done. Just like I'm this weird, crazy energy, and you come, you're chill.
That's actually really nice to hear, Dick. I was being very sarcastic. I have zero chill, I think, at least. Zero? I'm an oldest daughter. I'm an overachiever. I'm never not doing 6 things at once and always feeling like I'm not doing any of it perfectly.
But I think that you probably know your audience, right? Because
so.
When you're in front of that client, you're just chill. It's like watching Dr. Dolittle. All the pets calm down. Mm-hmm. The kids start just circling around and watching. They love that energy.
Well, that's because I'm handling somebody else's business. I'm a taker-carer. Right? I'm a caregiver. So if I'm taking care of somebody else's business, if I'm taking care of somebody else's needs, if I'm caring for someone, that is when I am in my element, both in a personal level and in a professional level. It's why I chose this line of work in the first place. But I am at my best either in a crisis or when I'm taking care of people because I have no chill. And so at my own mental health what's the word I'm looking for? This is my no chill coming through. But basically, at a great cost to myself, I will be chill for everyone else and take care of everyone else's needs. But inside, I'm holding myself to this crazy high standard.
You have oldest child syndrome. You have any brothers and sisters, Dan?
I do. I have a younger sister, and I had an older sister who passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So my younger sister, who I'm close with emotionally, but geographically, she lives in Texas.
So she can't hear us on the radio station right now. I don't think our antennas go quite that far.
Well, you can, maybe try and boost the range a little bit.
Who knows? That might be happening.
Yeah.
So you've lived in the area your whole life?
I moved out here in 4th grade.
Ah, okay.
So before that, I lived in Chicago.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
But it makes sense.
See, I'm sorry to hear that. Have you never spent any time living in Chicago, Dick?
I actually enjoy Chicago. I think it's one of the better cities.
Yeah. Have you ever
I think
lived
it's
there,
one
though?
of the better cities in Illinois.
Have you ever lived there?
Yeah, actually.
You did?
Kind of Norridge area.
Okay.
So you really wouldn't call that Chicago.
Yeah.
We lived in the those tall apartment buildings near the airport. I forget what the name is. Pavilion, maybe.
Okay.
It was like 4 or 5 buildings. It was a great complex. There was
Sure.
several hundred units, and it had a really nice pool out there.
Yeah.
We spent about a year there when I first came to Chicago before moving to Skokie, and then came up in the mid-2000s.
Okay. I lived in Rogers Park for
Okay.
for about a year, which is, I mean, still kind of just barely Chicago, right? Like you throw a rock and you're in Lincolnwood.
Well, we were in California and Diversity, and I have interesting memories growing up. Keep in mind, we moved out here when we're, at the end of my 3rd grade year. So I was,
So like
8
2010?
Yeah. Bless you. You're chilling. But I can remember, the freedom. I mean, I really enjoyed the city back then. I can remember that I had my bicycle, and I can remember riding, half a mile away on my bicycle by myself.
You were allowed?
Oh, not only my parents would give me money to go to the hot dog stand to buy hot dogs and bring back dinner for everybody. I mean, I'm in 3rd grade. We used to walk to school, and we'd walk home for lunch.
The hot dog stands back then that you're talking about. So I grew up in New York,
Yeah.
and we had the street vendor hot dogs, really good hot dogs, best hot dogs in the world.
You have hot dogs out there?
These were the hot dogs. They would sit in these carts overnight, rat-infested waters, and there was just something about it. They tasted delicious.
Sure.
And that was before the government came in and over-regulated it, and they made them use, sanitary water. And then we had
Bougie.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you mean change the water every day?
Yeah.
Whether it needed it or not?
Correct. No rats even. But it was kind of like the Wild West with the street vendors. Was it the same way in Chicago?
Oh, it absolutely was. In fact, I remember the vendor that comes to mind was actually in a trailer. And, it's kind of like a food truck today, but it was a trailer that would just park there forever. And that's where we'd go, and they had great hot dogs, and they were obviously cheap because my parents would give me money to go, get out of their hair for 20 minutes while I went to the store to get them some hot dogs.
What part of the city did you grow up in?
California and Diversity, so kind of the north side.
Yeah.
2600 north.
Yeah, you could do much worse.
Yeah.
My parents used to make me go buy them cigarettes back then when you go with the
What a
little
wild
note.
concept.
Yeah. You had to have that note.
You had to have the note.
Because if you had the note, they weren't for you.
What a wild concept. Like that obviously wasn't a part of my childhood. By the time I was of the age to be sent to the gas station, we were definitely not allowed to buy cigarettes. But what's funny even now is because within just I'm just going to say youth, right? My young adult years, like we were still allowed to smoke inside. And explaining that to young people now, they'd be like, excuse me?
Oh, yeah.
Like the concept of smoking indoors, smoking or non-smoking for a restaurant, crazy.
I mean, what a great way to circle this back to real estate. Because, 20 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, everyone still smoked in their house.
Yeah.
When was the last time you've been in a house where, the seller smoked in it? It happens, but it's very, very rare.
Over the summer, actually, this past summer, I did show a home where you could definitely tell, and not just because it smelled like it, but also there was an ashtray on the kitchen table.
Oh.
But it was a very, very outdated house. It was very clear that it was, by people of a different generation who still just smoked in the house.
What about a smoking section on an airplane? I mean, you're
On an
sitting
airplane?
you're sitting in a tube.
Really? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I know that's a thing, but that still seems crazy to me because that was obviously not a part of my time, I don't think.
But yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
People, and then when they had no smoking, people would book, and they originally did it was no smoking on shorter flights. On the longer flights, you could still smoke.
Interesting.
So people wouldn't take the short flights because they couldn't go without a cigarette that long.
Wow, that's so funny to me. And I'm trying to think back. So when I first started working, my first job was at a bowling alley / bar, and there was definitely still smoking allowed. And it's just crazy because like smoking also didn't have the stigma that it did back then because it wasn't unprofessional. Like we were allowed to just smoke a cigarette at our post behind the bowling counter, like, hi, what can I get for you? What size shoes?
Behind the counter?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
and like it wasn't like a gross thing. I mean, looking back on it now, like that's so unprofessional. I like cringe thinking about it. But yeah, that was, I mean, they didn't like me doing it because I was not 18. So I was told, go go somewhere else if you're going to do that. Go take a break somewhere because you're not a grown up yet. And I had no business smoking cigarettes back then. But the thought of that, like if I walked up to any counter for anything now,
Yep.
and the person was just sitting there smoking, I'd be like, where the heck am I? When the heck am I? Where was I sent back to?
So, interesting story. So, Susie Schmidt, do you know Susie Schmidt?
I don't.
Yeah, okay, Susie Schmidt. Dan, you know Susie Schmidt.
I know Susie.
Susie, former state senator. She was a former county board member and the county board chair.
Oh, okay.
She was the county board chair before county board chairs were cool. And just joking. But her gift to me when I got elected on the county board was the county board ashtray. That every one of them had on their desks. During the county board meetings, they would light up and smoke.
Oh my goodness.
Isn't that weird just to think about?
That is weird. I remember when the rules changed too. I think it was 2000. It was New Year's Eve is when the last night it was allowed, and I think it was 2006 or 7 or 8, something like that. I don't remember. When you guys remember what year it changed?
I don't remember the year, but I do remember it was actually more transitional because remember originally
Chicago when they moved out.
They more municipalities approved it before it was statewide, and then they had restaurants could still have smoking sections and non-smoking sections. And I think the last ones to go were the bars.
Yes. So I was living down at U of I at the time, and down there it had already been passed, so there was already no smoking indoors. And then when I would come up, for the holidays and stuff, and I would still have that same job at that same bar/bowling alley, it was still allowed up until New Year's Eve of, I think it was 2007 going into 2008.
That's probably about right.
And I remember everyone just kind of like ceremonially like smoking their last cigarette at midnight, and people were like, no, I want to be the last one to put it out. It was such a bizarre thing to think about now.
Now, New York was first to go.
Okay.
Maybe California was first, but New York was before Chicago.
Okay.
And New York would, to get compliance, they would fine the bars because the bars didn't want to stop it because their patrons were like, no, we want to go there and drink and smoke. So what happened is that the fine would start out as $250. The second fine was $500. Third fine, $1,000. So it was basically a doubled fine. It was progressive and it kept going up.
Yeah.
And what the patrons would do with the bar owner is say, we will chip in to pay the fine. You just let us keep smoking. But you can only double so much before you're looking at, 5-digit fines.
If memory serves me, there were a couple of local places here in Lake County that did something similar for a little while where they still allowed it if you paid a little entry fee to smoke or something like that. But I don't miss it now. I mean, I don't. Obviously, I have kids, so I don't miss it anyway. But thinking back on it, I would go home smelling terrible.
Yeah, but I didn't know,
No, I mean, I think even I was aware of it, even though I did smoke cigarettes at the time.
But everybody smelled like that, so you didn't smell different.
You're right, it wasn't gross.
If you walk into a place where somebody had a cigarette 2 weeks ago, you know it.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And I feel bad at Christoph's. You know Christoph's well.
Yeah,
I used to go out and because they had the little fenced-in area where you could smoke still.
Yeah.
And I'd go out, I'd have a cigarette, I'd come back, and my friends were like, ew, you stink. And but even if you didn't smoke, then you smelled like it because everywhere you went had smoking. That was the tie into the politics. But I do want to, because, boy, this is going smoother. So we usually have Sly here. Sly's not here.
Okay.
Sly Marinca from Cross Country Mortgage. He's usually here. And he's up snowmobiling in the UP. He'll be back next week, by the way. We'll get the full mortgage report.
Awesome.
And I always get nervous when it's not the three of us. Because oh, no, what are we going to talk about? Are we going to be able to make a stress? But Dan, you're natural. This is awesome.
It's so funny to me that you get nervous about that, Dick, because if there is anyone in this world that I know who is as much of a yapper as me, it's you.
Let me tell you something.
I don't think that we would ever.
When I need to vamp, she knows, and if I'm like, I got to go take care of this, she just picks up and she just goes on it.
Keep talking. Honestly, sometimes I look around like someone stop me.
Well, I'm a little jealous of Sly. We used to snowmobile a lot. In fact, we had 5 snowmobiles up to about 2 months ago. And growing up with the kids, it was great because something that the family could do, and it was fun for them.
Yeah.
And then when they were 12, they could take their test and they could drive.
Fun.
So our kids all had their own snowmobiles when they were 12 years old.
That's awesome.
And my daughter was the speed demon. She was the the problem child.
I'm assuming you traveled to snowmobile.
We did a lot of trips.
Yeah.
And it was always, January, February, my law practice and stuff was generally slow that time. Not a lot of real estate closings.
Right.
So that was our time to go on vacation. So snowmobile trips worked out great for us.
Yeah. Yeah, I enjoyed going up. I spent a little bit of time up in like Minocqua, Eagle River area. It's beautiful.
I've been there,
the trails up there are awesome. You can go for hundreds, if not thousands of miles. Reminds me kind of a little bit like the Adirondacks in New York. And the trails are just so well kept. Definitely an enjoyable time. Why'd you get rid of the snowmobiles?
Because I don't like the cold as much as I used to.
That'll happen.
It's funny. Like today, for me, is fine. It's when it's windy out. I can take anything above 0 without the wind.
What a Midwestern boy thing to say.
Yeah, and the sun makes a big difference as well. I mean, I've been out smoking in 10 below. If the sun's out, it feels better than sometimes 40 when the sun is, the sun's gone and the wind's whipping and it's wet. But we're going to get started on our show and going to get right into the Market Minute. So here goes.
Stay on top of the market with Dick Barr's Market Minute.
Dick Barr's Market Minute.
Hello, Lake County. Welcome back. This is Dick Barr, your host of Unlocking Lake County, here with today's Northwest Lake County Market Minute. I keep looking at my video in my right eye, so on the thing, and every time I turn my head to adjust the screens, I see I've got this like cowlick sitting up. I really need a haircut.
No one would have noticed it if you hadn't said it.
Yeah, no, I know.
Now it's all we're gonna look
I'm going to
at.
circle it, put it on an image, and put it out on the internet. Someone might see it then. Okay, getting started in the entire Northwest Lake County region. 128 active properties, lowest we've had since we started.
Wow.
What? Happy anniversary!
Yes, happy anniversary. It's actually 1 week past our year anniversary.
Well, it's 5 days past our 1 year anniversary.
Okay,
Last
so
year
not a
we
week.
started on Valentine's Day.
Yes, we did.
February 14th of 2024, and this is 1 year. So yeah, we didn't celebrate our anniversary last time because it was beforehand, and we didn't have a show last week.
That's okay. I really wanted to do like a montage of all of the equipment malfunctions that we've had over the year, like how fun that would have been.
Yeah, you know how long it would take to come up with that?
Yeah, and we'd probably have a malfunction in the middle of trying to run the malfunction reel.
But you know what? I think we've got it down. We've picked up the tech. We're making technical progress each week.
Absolutely.
This week, I'm launching some really fun new tech. And in fact, those live streamers who watch will now get to hear what the radio listeners hear during the commercial instead of going to that endless loop of me talking about sponsors. So now it's going to be lively and actionable, and hopefully they'll enjoy it. Awesome. I know I did. And I'm not going to give away the secret. Never mind.
Good.
Okay.
Lowest inventory.
Lowest inventory since we started our show, 128 active properties in all of the communities. 22 new listings this week, down from 33 last week. 50 homes have gone under contract in the past week, which is a big jump. And we've seen it since last week's 32. That's one thing I've noticed. Dan, you've probably seen them contracts coming across your desk. We went 3-4 weeks with like nothing, aging inventory, not a lot of showings, not a lot of contracts, and then boom, within the past 2 weeks, boom, 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 boom. So a good sign for sellers. And if you're a buyer sitting on the sidelines, you might not want to wait because things are starting to heat up.
I can tell you, I was at Chicago Title yesterday, and they had, at the Lake Villa office, they had one closing, which is the one I was at, and they said that's the only closing they have this week.
Yeah.
So the manager, George, a great guy, said that not to worry because the orders are just slamming in.
Yeah.
So going down, because it's usually a 4 to 6 week delay between when you get a contract and when you close, that they're expecting it to be a pretty busy spring.
Yep, no, absolutely. That's kind of what we're seeing too. 162 contracts in the past 30 days, up from last month's 101. 30% increase in new contracts.
Yeah, with a decrease in inventory.
With a decrease in inventory, correct. You know what that means. Prices are going to move on up. Hope I don't get a copyright for that. Days on market average, still a very tight 33 days with a 0.8-month supply of inventory. Lowest priced home sold in the region was $95,000 with $3.6 million is the high. $4.5 million is the highest active, and a median sales price of $281,000. Now on over to Antioch, where they have 33 active properties. That's the highest in the region. 10 homes got under contract in the past 7 days, 26 in the past 30. 29 days on market is the average sales time, and they've got a 1.3 month supply of inventory. $95,000 was the lowest priced home sold. 3.6 was the high. Congratulations, Antioch. $1.9 million is their highest active, and a median sales price of $305,000. Now on over to Volo, Fox Lake, and Ingleside, where they're sitting on only 15 active properties. And believe it or not, that's not the lowest.
Oh my gosh.
You're going to be surprised at the lowest inventory.
I probably am.
Excuse me, 3 homes, 3 new listings this week, same as last week's 3. 6 homes have gone under contract in the past 7 days, same as last week. 24 homes have gone under contract in the past 30 days, almost 50% more than last week's 15. Then 34 days on market is the average, with a half a month supply of inventory. $159,000 was the low, $415,000 was the high, $1.69 million is their highest active, and a $290,000 is their median sales price. Now on over to Grays Lake, Cages Lake, Haynesville, Third Lake, and Wildwood, where they're sitting on only 18 properties. 7 new listings this week, same as last. 7 homes have gone under contract in the past 7 days. 30 homes have gone under contract in the past 30 days, which is double last month's 16. 39 days on market is their average, and that is the highest in the region, with a, again, 0.6 month supply of inventory. Lowest priced home sold there, $100,000. Highest price, $637,000, and a $1.2 million is their highest active. Now and over to Lindenhurst and Lake Villa. That's our backyard. 28 active properties. Only 2 new listings this week. 7 homes under contract in the past 7 days. 25 homes under contract in the past 30 days. Days on market average, 26 days. That's the lowest in the region.
Yeah.
Yay, go us.
Yeah.
$175,000 is the lowest priced home sold. $425,000 is the high. $4.5 million is the highest active. And $286,000 is the median. Now, Round Lake area. It's a huge area. It's, in fact, by population, the largest area in the region that we report. 13 active homes on the market.
Oh my gosh.
Never seen anything like that. Wow. Only 2 new listings this week. 12 homes under contract in the past 7 days.
My goodness.
So it's the highest number of contracts, the lowest inventory.
Wow.
Guess what's coming? Last week, there was only 2 properties went under contract. 33 homes have gone under contract in the past 30 days. Days on market average is 38, and the lowest month supply of inventory at only 0.4. So if you list it, get ready to move because it's moving.
Yeah.
$137,000 is the lowest priced home sold. $365,000 is the high. $499,000 is the highest active, and the median sales price is $215,000. That's it. That's it for this week's Market Minute. What are the surprises? Anything?
Well, I was definitely surprised to hear that Round Lake had the lowest inventory.
Yeah.
And how quickly everything is turning. Although I'm not really that surprised to hear how quickly it's turning. I've always loved living in the Round Lake area, truly. I know that it's got like a weird...
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Got a weird reputation sometimes from town to town, but I've always loved living here.
I hate that someone's got some kind of Facebook group. We're not Round Lake. Have you ever seen that?
Oh, no, I haven't.
Have you ever seen that, Dan?
Haven't.
I have not.
It's not Round Lake, it's called. And this stems from, there was a post going back a year or two, and someone complaining about something, I don't know, some hillbilly type thing.
Sure.
And it became... And the person who said it says, "What's the matter, people? We're not Round Lake."
Oh my
like,
goodness.
oh come on, you're
My
condescending. You know
And
what?
listen, like some of that's like just fun town to town rivalry, right? Like if you watch like Parks and Recreation,
Sure.
you've got like Pawnee versus Eagleton and silly stuff like that. But I can't imagine like looking down on someone for living in a certain area though.
Round Lake Beach is a great community.
Absolutely,
Look at all the
it is.
resources it has.
100%. No, I know.
Look at our retail.
Your retail is awesome.
Awesome.
I mean,
Absolutely.
I don't
Our park
know.
district is stellar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of the best in the country.
Yeah.
And the township's pretty good too in Lake Villa.
Yeah.
People are always confused by that. And we're going to get into that. When I don't want
We
to
could
get too
talk
much.
a little bit about that.
Yeah, we're going to
Yeah.
get into a lot of people don't understand the townships, how it works, why the boundaries are weird, why people have different townships, and what. In fact, I'll bet you the number of people who don't know what a township is is huge.
Yeah, totally agree.
So we got lots of questions for you, Dan, coming up.
Okay. I hope I won't disappoint you.
No, you won't. So let's... What would you say, who are the snootiest in the area?
I'm not doing that.
Come on.
No, that's a trap.
No,
Absolutely
it's not. Come on.
not. No.
Who are the snootiest?
No, honestly, I think because I think it
And
really
who are the most
varies.
hillbilly?
I'm not doing that either. No way. You're gonna set it. You do it.
Well, I'm not
doing
going to
it.
go there, but I don't know. I've heard the term Fox Tucky before. That's all I'm going to say.
I have heard that, and I think that's a term that people from Fox Lake kind of embrace a little bit too.
I think so too.
So I wouldn't really feel bad about throwing that around necessarily. No, I don't think it's really necessarily like a people of a town thing. I think it's just like person to person. I think it really has to do more with like if they do live in a nicer area, are they newer to having money? Because then they may feel more inclined to look down on those who don't, to like separate themselves as like not one of them anymore, on like a more personal level than I think it is for like whole towns.
So I think I agree with you. What I think is, I think Antioch is an amazing community. I love their downtown.
Their downtown is so
It's
cute.
so cute. It's reminiscent of like the 50s, 60s.
They have a new park over there. It's amazing.
The park is amazing. I think they got so much cool stuff. And I think people coming into the area, they're like, oh my God, this is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Oddly enough, I think the people who are kind of long liver Antiochs are like, oh, our town's nothing special. You got nothing to do here. I'm like, what? I look at you guys with jealousy.
Yeah, interesting.
Well, Antioch has a nice layout because it has like the loop. And I remember in high school, you would scoop the loop in Antioch because you could actually make a circle.
Yeah.
And there's not too many places you can do that.
No.
And all of the whole loop is kind of their business area, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now I'm assuming the loop goes as far west as 59. And
No, it would just go in front of the Limerick. So you'd go down 83 is just like a four block loop.
Gotcha.
You get dizzy at the end of a Friday night scooping the loop.
From the Limerick, no.
Back in the day. Well, you could stop at the Limerick on the way.
Get yourself a little dizzy.
I've never been to the Limerick.
It's got a lot of history to it. They have a lot of stuff going on there. I haven't been there in years, but back in the day.
Now, back in the day, speaking of, do you guys know when Illinois turned 21 drink?
Oh, it went back and forth, right around my age group, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it was 19, Wisconsin was 18, and Illinois was 21. And then Illinois became 19 for beer and wine.
Oh.
But then you could still go to Wisconsin at 18 and drink anything you wanted. And then ultimately, I think Illinois went back to 21. And then everyone just went to Wisconsin, and then Illinois, then everyone went to 21 because the Fed said they were going to take away your highway money if you didn't.
Right, yep. Huh. The Fed said the same thing with the 55 miles an hour. Like, you will be 55 or you're going to lose money.
Yes.
And eventually
everyone went to 55.
Yeah. It's funny when money gets involved and we're like, okay, yeah, we'll do it.
Fine, you got
We'll
me.
give up those rights.
Yeah.
I think 20, I don't know. I don't know how I feel. I have a hard time thinking it's a good idea. It's not that you can fight for your country, but you can't drink a beer. I just think that's weird. I understand you're not fully a grown adult yet, but I just think it's weird that you can sit there and take bombs, but you can't take a sip of alcohol.
Your prefrontal cortex hasn't even finished developing yet.
Well, you're kind of balancing too. The risk of 18-year-olds drinking in cars.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
If you let them drink and wouldn't drive, well, you could do that for everybody. That would be great. But I think the bigger concern is people are going to drink to excess when they're 18 years old, and they have a higher risk of getting into a very serious car accident.
So I have a good idea then. I think we should make a law that you can't drink while driving.
No kidding. That's original.
Okay, well, that is our first half hour, and this is our first week of letting the streamers hear what our commercial breaks sound like, and we don't have to worry about any copyrights.
Hooray!
So we'll be right back after this break.
Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr will return in just a few moments after these important messages. Don't touch that dial.
It's time for the weather.
Get ready for some snowflakes dancing down after 5 this evening, but don't worry. They'll come and go with a mostly cloudy backdrop. We're peaking at a high around 55, but watch out as that slips to about 52 in the afternoon with a little wind from the northwest. Tonight, more of those elusive snow showers popping up here and there, staying mostly cloudy. We're dipping to a low near 36 with a bit of a breeze bringing gusts up to 20 miles per hour. Looking towards Thursday, enjoy the sunshine peeking through and a high climbing to 70 before cooling a bit by afternoon.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County.
Unlocking Lake County.
With Dick Barr. 98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Dick Barr Group at Village Realty, offering both residential and commercial real estate services across northeastern Illinois. Their office is located at 1915 East Grand Avenue in Lindenhurst, or they can be found online at www.dickbar.com for a personal real estate experience. They can also be reached at 847-579-9736. The Dick Barr Group. Your property goals are their mission. Here's the top stories in real estate today. According to a report from Crane's Chicago Business, the Cook County Assessor's Office announced that new property tax assessments are being sent out and are expected to impact many homeowners. The assessments for 2023 have shown an overall increase, which may lead to higher tax bills for property owners within Cook County. This change has caused some concern among residents who are worried about the increasing cost of living in the area. Homeowners are encouraged to review their assessments closely and appeal if they believe their property has been overvalued. In Lake County, the real estate market remains competitive. Per a story in the Chicago Tribune, the inventory of available homes continues to be low, driving a rise in housing prices despite the cooling national housing trends. Buyers in areas such as Libertyville and Mundelein are facing stiff competition, with homes receiving multiple offers shortly after listing. Real estate agents are advising clients to be prepared with pre-approval letters and flexible moving plans to make the best of this seller-favored market. In McHenry County, according to the Northwestern Herald, there has been a surge in demand for new residential developments. This growing interest is partly due to the county's relative affordability compared to its neighboring regions. New construction projects are underway in several cities, including Crystal Lake and Huntley. To meet this demand, experts suggest that these developments could attract more families seeking larger spaces and modern amenities. Nationally, the CBS News reports that the Federal Reserve's recent decision to hold the line on interest rates is influencing mortgage rates, which have remained relatively steady for the past few weeks. This move has provided some relief to potential homebuyers who are watching interest rates closely while navigating the challenges of affordability. Economists are watching the market carefully, anticipating how inflation trends might affect future rate adjustments. Globally, per a story from the Wall Street Journal, the real estate market in major cities like London and New York is experiencing an interesting shift towards ultra-luxury properties. The demand for high-end apartments and homes in urban centers is outpacing the supply, leading to bidding wars among wealthy buyers. This trend indicates a growing preference for exclusive, city-based living among the world's elite, contrasting with the suburban shift seen during the height of the global pandemic. Our top stories are brought to you by the Dick Barr Group at Village Realty, located at 1915 East Grand Avenue in Lindenhurst, Illinois.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder & Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas, including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder & Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder & Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Hello, Lake County. It's time for Unlocking This Day in History on Unlocking Lake County, brought to you by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, serving homeowners, buyers, and sellers with offices throughout Chicagoland and the entire country. Let's take a quick trip back in time to what happened today in history. Today, on February 19th, let's start off our historical adventure in the year 1878, when Thomas Edison patented the phonograph. That's right. Thanks to Mr. Edison, we began our journey into the phonographic world where we could all jive to the grooves etched in discs. Imagine being the first DJ with a phonograph in your living room. Flash forward to the year 1942 during World War II, where history was made as President Franklin Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066, authorizing the internment of Japanese Americans. It's a poignant reminder that history has its ups and downs, just like a roller coaster, which is a lot more fun when there's actual music thanks to Edison. Now, let's spin the wheel of history all the way to 1985, when one of pop culture's favorites, the classic Coca-Cola nemesis known as Cherry Coke, was introduced. Cherry Coke came in and added a splash of flavor to that year, offering soda drinkers something to root for, and proving that sometimes a cherry on top really does mean having your cake, and sipping your soda too. And not to be left out, in 2014, Netflix hit the big leagues by coming out with its first self-produced animated series, BoJack Horseman. Who knew a horse could make us reflect on our very human existential crises? That's what you call a real main event in television history. And lastly, in the year 2017, deep pocket rock band auctions achieved a high note. Kurt Cobain's smashed Fender Mustang guitar from the iconic 1991 Smells Like Teen Spirit music video sold at a staggering $386,000. Rock on, collectors.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
Welcome back to Unlocking Lake County with your host, Dick Barr.
And we're back. This is Dick Barr, your host of Unlocking Lake County, here with Christin Kaufman.
Hi, friends.
And special guest in the studio, Lakeville Township Supervisor Dan Venturi.
Hello, everybody.
Thanks for coming back, folks. And let me just do a little bit of housekeeping over here. Let me switch this over. Okay, cool. During the break, we were talking about a couple of different things. One of them, Dan, who was talking about, you did a no charge card January.
No charge card January is actually. I was watching a show with Dave Ramsey, and he brought up the point that when you spend money using a plastic card, even if you paid off every month, it's so much easier to spend money with a plastic card than to actually put $50 on the table.
So wait a second. So you're not just saying no credit. You're saying no ATMs. What do they call it? ATM cards.
Debits.
Debit cards either.
I did use my debit card.
Okay.
Because you can't really function without that. But at least, I mean, I look at my bank balance. So if I spend $50, I have $50 less in the bank.
Yeah.
That's so much easier than, well, next month I'll get a bill for $700.
So you look at your balance daily?
It's on my phone app.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I don't look at my balance at all. I just let Holly take care of all of that at home. So I don't know what's going on. I keep in track of the business expenses, but not the home expenses. But what's interesting is I didn't make any, no charge card January, but just this week, I've been using cash for things instead of my thing, and I did notice I'm more frugal when I have to spend it, and when the pile gets smaller, I spend less, much less.
I notice, like going to Dunkin' Donuts, go get yourself, buy some coffees, and you can spend $20 there pretty easily.
Yeah.
But now if I'm taking $20 out of my pocket, I'll drive by and have a Keurig when I get to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't have too many Keurigs because that's where my daughter works, Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh,
I
there
want to
you
be
go.
out of the job.
Well, then I feel bad. I slighted your daughter.
God bless my daughter. She's been working since she's been 15. Mm-hmm. She first started at Antioch Pizza. Then she was there for about a year and a half, and then she wanted to, kind of change because she was in the kitchen.
Sure.
And it's kind of a rough job for a young girl in the kitchen.
As a teen too, yeah.
Did you really? Mm-hmm. Huh. And then she went to work for Wendy's, and now she's at Dunkin' Donuts. My daughter speaks 3 languages.
What?
Really?
Yeah, she speaks fluently Spanish, Russian, and a little bit of English.
That's incredible. And teen girl.
Teen girl,
which is
right?
a language all of its own.
That's when I said she speaks a little bit of English. I'm referring to her texts that I have
sure.
no idea what she's talking about. Like they're not even abbreviations that are words for words I've ever heard of.
That's so funny. Do you Google it? Look it up on Urban Dictionary?
No,
what
I just say if you got to speak my language if you want. If you want something, you got to speak my language. She also never answers her phone.
Yeah, no.
Never.
No. Mm-mm.
My other kids, they answer their phone. She never answers the phone.
Okay.
One time we were, I took her and her boyfriend down to go see a Wolves game. That's when the Ice Hogs were in town. Ice Hogs is the feeder team for the Blackhawks. And Jonathan, my youngest son, he wanted to go see it because there was an up-and-comer who was going to the Blackhawks who was still on the Ice Hogs, and he wanted to watch that game. So I brought my daughter and her boyfriend, and the game's about to start. I'm wondering where are they? I call her, nothing. Call her, nothing. Call her, text her, nothing. And then I said, well, let me call her boyfriend. I call her boyfriend. Answers right away. I don't know if she has it on silent or maybe I'm blocked. I have no idea.
Maybe you're blocked. Young people don't like to answer their phones most of the time, I find.
Probably.
You're
the texting generation.
So you say we, and like, yes, so that is partially true, but also I feel like people have, like, the millennials, at least like maybe like mid to older millennials, like we still had to like call to make things happen, right? Like not everything was done like over the computer or over text.
Oh, really?
We could text, but you were getting charged per text still when I was a teenager.
You were still charged per text?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So getting unlimited texting was like a big deal, but that wasn't part of like a lot of our like youth and our teen years where we were all talking to each other. I like to joke sometimes where I say like anytime that I'm dealing with like a younger agent, I like to establish dominance by calling them on the phone.
Yeah.
Because they freak out, they panic.
Well, I have friends that they'll text you saying, "Can I call you?"
Oh yeah, all the time.
Just call me.
Yeah.
If I don't want to talk to you, I won't answer the phone.
Yeah.
I'm kind of guilty of that. Or what about the people who text you to say, "Call me"?
Yeah.
Right? Like, call me. Like,
it's a little aggressive.
But you know what? I think it's well intended. I think they're thinking you're busy.
Right.
When you're free, call me, and is what they're saying. And I kind of get that. I've never been good on the phone. You know this. I hate picking up the phone. I do coaching, and coaching says you got to make the phone calls. I'm like, no. I don't make the phone calls. Well, do you call your family? They try to make it like, look, it's the same thing as calling your family. I don't call my family. What about, you call your sister? No, don't call my sister. Okay, what about, calling your existing clients? I don't call my existing clients.
I like to text.
I text them, I email them, and I say, when you're free, because I don't want to be imposing. That's what I'm thinking. But a lot of people do. They want that, hey, no, why didn't you call me? I'm like, oh, well, because I don't want to bother you. Well, you bother me by not.
Yeah.
And that's what I've got to get through my thick skull.
Yeah, absolutely.
We just came out of, last month was dry January.
Okay.
Right? Okay. I didn't know that. And no one gave me the memo. So
No.
I had a very wet January.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Either of you participate?
Well, I started out, actually, I had a little bit of a cold right after New Year's Eve. So first couple of days I
That's
wasn't
what we all
feeling
had
good.
it.
So then after that, I decided I wonder, I haven't had a drink in 3 or 4 days. Why don't see if I can do the whole month?
Oh.
And it went really, really well. I ended up, I normally just drink water, but I started drinking like Diet Dr. Pepper or Diet Cokes, and I was drinking that instead of a glass of wine at dinner.
There you go.
So I made it through dry January. And I'm into a moist February, I guess.
I'm not sure the FCC allows that word. Sorry, didn't mean to
No,
interrupt.
that's okay. And it's worked out pretty well. And a lot of it was just the habit of, I would routinely have a glass of wine with dinner.
Yeah.
So I kind of gave that up. And I usually drink beer and wine. Like I would have a beer if I'm working on a project or something like that, or
Yeah.
at a sporting event, I'll drink beer.
I think about, did you ever see the movie Shawshank Redemption?
I did.
Yeah, that movie
Yeah.
when they're on top of the roof and they're laying the tar, and Andy goes and tells the main guard that he can fix his tax problem, and the guard almost throws him off the roof, and then he realizes that Andy's trying to help, and then he says, well, what do you want in return? He goes, I just want a bucket of beers for my guys so we could feel like a man again under the bright sun.
Interesting.
Yeah, but you don't drink, do you?
Not really. So back when I was, working in the bar scene and I was, in my early 20s, I drank a lot. I drank more often than I didn't. And, at the time.
Oh,
it didn't-
really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
It was just part of the culture, You're in it all day.
Yeah.
You're, at the end of the day, you have some drinks with your coworkers, kind of decompress from the day. And then your day off, you want to go hang out with a lot of those same people that you're in that same circle with. So you go to the bar. It's just kind of part of the culture. And so at the time it didn't feel like a problem. Looking back, I might have been on some kind of track to have it develop into one. Thankfully, it didn't.
Are you an obsessive personality? Addictive, I should say.
Not really. It kind of just depends on the thing, to be honest with you. Because I've picked up and dropped smoking a bunch of times, and it's never really been a big deal. I've never struggled with that either.
I do it like 20 times a day.
Sure, yeah. But once I had kids, and when I got pregnant for the first time, that obviously stopped. And once I had kids, I just didn't really have time for it, and then that just kind of fell off of being a part of my daily routine. And now, I think I have maybe like 1 or 2 drinks like a year if I'm doing something. So like I'm not like intentionally capital S sober, but like essentially I am basically sober. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, similarly, I used to smoke when I was younger, and when I was in college, I had quit smoking, but then I would smoke during finals. That was my excuse.
Uh-huh.
So I could make it through 3 months knowing that I was going to have a cigarette during finals. And
really?
And it's strange, but for those 3 months, I was thinking about the finals coming up because I could start smoking again.
Oh, that's funny.
You just associate
I'm looking
them
forward
with
to
certain
finals
things.
so I could have a
smoke.
cigarette.
Yeah, no, I get it. Absolutely.
So I read a book. It was called, I don't remember what it was called, but it was Alan Carr was the author. It's a book to help you quit smoking. And it deals with it from a perspective of, it's almost hypnotizing yourself. The purpose of the book is to hypnotize yourself. He constantly goes over, the cigarette does nothing for you. It only takes away. And you can kind of almost hear him as you're reading it. You can almost hear the monotonous tone of like the cigarette that you smoke takes away from you. You think it brings you up. Because as a smoker, I know when I'm like, okay, a little stressed, I'm going to have that cigarette, and I'm not going to feel stressed anymore for 10 seconds.
Sure.
But his point of it was, you're perfect before you smoke. The first cigarette you have brings you down. And then every other cigarette you have from that just brings you back up to where you started before you ever smoked.
Okay.
And it was really trying to teach you that you can quit as long as you convince yourself that the cigarette is nothing. Now, I'm going to say it worked for me. I did quit. My big problem was the thing that it forces you to do. It forces you to believe it. Okay, and after you read the book, you quit and you believe it.
Sure.
And then I made the mistake of telling other people this is a good thing to do, and some of them would have a hard time with that. Well, I can't believe it. And they would come to you and tell me, well, they would come to me and they would tell me that I can't quit because I don't believe it. And then I would convince them that, no, you have to believe it. But they were more convincing to me. They persuaded me
that the system didn't work.
Right.
Planted the seed
So
of
they
doubt.
talked you out of your
Pretty
your
much.
cure.
Interesting.
And I'm not trying to lay blame somewhere
of course
else.
not.
But really, that's kind of what it was. If you can do it and read that and force yourself to believe, and I think that's what hypnotism is.
Sure.
I don't really believe you can hypnotize somebody and make them balk like a chicken with them not really knowing that's what they're being instructed to do.
Right. No, I get that.
Yeah.
That's like a lot of things. Things only really work if you believe that it will in a lot of ways.
Oh, for sure.
The power of suggestion, all of that. For me, it was always just like habit association. So the first time that I really went from being like an actual smoker to just not doing it anymore is it was very incremental. So I would stop. I stopped smoking with my first cup of coffee, and then once that was no big deal, then I stopped going out for cigarette breaks at work. And so then I got myself like all the way till the end of the night when I would have my first drink after work, and I was going into like 9 o'clock at night not having a cigarette all day, and then so by the time it came time for me to get pregnant and have kids, like it was so easy for me to just drop it because it was only really dropping 1 or 2 cigarettes a day anyway.
Well, it's kind of like my story where I smoked during finals. So I would go months.
Yeah, exactly.
The kudos to Bob in our office.
Oh my gosh, I'm so proud of him.
Over at Village Realty.
I'm so proud of him.
He hasn't smoked in over a month.
Yeah, and he was a smoker. Like smoking his house smoker.
In his house, correct.
Yeah.
And he stopped that first.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he got
habits.
sick around the same time we all got sick around the holidays.
Yeah, we did.
And then he just, boom, now, and he can even come out with us and stand with us while we smoke. It's like he's doesn't care.
No, I'm so proud of him.
He's
He'll
probably
acknowledge.
listening to his radio like, I want
He'll
one now.
acknowledge. He's like, yeah, I want one, but I'm just not going to.
Right.
Oh, okay. Got it. It's just that easy, huh? All right. Good for you.
I do want to talk a little bit, even though Sly's not here. I want to talk about, in fact, Dan, it's interesting that you talked about the no charge card January. There was a report published this week that showed we are at an all-time high for credit card debt. It's something like $1.2 trillion. And to put that in perspective, before COVID, it was about $800 billion. After COVID, it was about $700 billion. And now it's $1.2 billion. So an amazing amount of debt was paid off during COVID because there was nothing to buy, right? You could the only thing you could buy during COVID was like a $10 cheeseburger at McDonald's. That was it. And now we're back. Everyone's doing, and kind of there was a little bit of cabin fever recapture. Now we're just letting loose. But the $1.2 trillion now, a lot of credit cards are 30% today.
My goodness.
Imagine. We're talking about $400 billion a year potentially.
How do you pay that off? If you got a $10,000 credit card balance and you're paying 30% interest,
right?
How do you even make the interest payments?
$3,000 a year in just interest payments. It's crazy, and $400 billion. So, I talked with Sly last week, and he said rates were going up. They're going up because inflation is still up, right? And it's not helpful with the eggs at $6 a carton. Or what do you pay for eggs now?
Last time I checked, I believe it was $11.99 for a.
What?
Yeah, yesterday when I went to do my online grocery shopping order.
You got to go to Aldi. They're $5.49.
Yeah.
I do the grocery shopping.
A case of ginger ale even was $11.
$5.49 at Aldi.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's cheap eggs. Remember, when they were 89 cents a dozen?
Oh yeah. So inflation's still high, which that means, as everyone who listens to the show regularly knows, high inflation means high interest rates. Why? Because the feds want to keep the rates up because that will, they say, push down inflation. And the inflation's not getting better, so what the experts are predicting is that rates are going to continue to go up.
A rule of thumb, Dick,
yeah.
is interest rates are inflation plus 2%.
So
like over a long period of time.
Are you talking about the Fed rate being inflation plus 2%?
No, I'm just saying
mortgage rates?
Yeah, that's about it. So if you got interest rates that are 5, you're going to pay 7.
Did Sly recently say that that they were expected to go up? Because I swear, last time he was here on the show, he had said that it was talked about that they're not expecting any significant
that was before the
decreases.
Inflation numbers came out.
The day-to-day rate will fluctuate.
Sure.
Yeah.
But this is like for an attorney trying to figure out a settlement over somebody's life expectancy.
Yeah.
So you figure it's inflation plus 2% is the interest rate you should use.
So like right now we're at about, 3%?
So interest rate should be 5.
But they're 7. Oh, I see.
Long term. It's
going to just averaging out.
Yeah, averaging out.
I understand. Gotcha. That's good to know. Another tidbit along the same lines. I just used it this week. We were talking to a buyer, and he didn't realize this because he was trying to figure out whether he should put more money down or less money down on a house. And said, basically, at the rates that they're at now, for every $10,000 you put down, it's your mortgage payment's $60 less a month. It used to be $40. It used to be $40. It was, I don't know, but now with the higher rates, it's obviously higher, and which is surprising. A lot of people don't realize that. So $10,000 more out of my pocket to only save $60 a month. Now, Dave Ramsey will tell you, but you're also saving the interest on $10,000 for 30 years.
Right.
And he's right. And one of these shows we have to talk about Dave Ramsey because he has a really good program on how to eliminate debt and eliminate mortgages. He's got a course that's out there called Pay Off Your Mortgage in 8 years, and it's the snowball effect. So get rid of the low payments first, not the low interest first, which probably, if you do the math, is a little bit slower, but psychologically more successful because you get to experience the wins of every time you knock out another low card, and then you take the savings from not having that payment. You apply that to the next big one. So I've seen it work. And so one of these shows will probably dedicate to that.
And avoid the temptation to take all your credit cards and put a home equity loan on your house.
Yeah.
Because that never gets paid off.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yep. Agree. And I'm a big believer that any fell swoop paying off of debt can be dangerous, because a lot of people just go right back to it. Mm-hmm. So, oh, look, I'm debt free. I've got all that room on the credit cards, but I didn't fix my spending problem. So anyway, so back to the $1.2 trillion in debt. So interest rates potentially rising, inflation high, debt load the highest it's ever been. We have to start paying attention to this. I mean, this could be problematic if not taken care of. I do like, and I know this is controversial right now, I do like what's happening. Not everyone does. I know people are going to disagree with me on this. I do like the dissection of what's happening with the spending in our government right now. And that's what the DOGE is doing, the Department of Government Efficiency. Now, I know there's disagreement on what should be looked at, and that's fine. We can have those discussions. But I like that we are now deep diving into what our tax dollars are being spent on.
The discussion should be what should be cut, not what should be looked at. Because everything should be looked at.
Yeah.
And then you have the discussion over this is something we should spend money on versus this is something we shouldn't. And if we don't have that conversation, it's going to be status quo for the rest of our lives.
Absolutely. I'm a big believer in zero-based budgeting. When I was on the county board, it's something I pushed for, and we got it. So Patrice Sutton, who was then the kind of the CFO of the county, had implemented a zero-based budget policy. But I never liked how governments looked at things as spend it so you don't lose it. So, well, we got to spend that money anyway, otherwise we won't get it that next year. And I'm not talking about government entities. I'm talking about departments within governments typically, especially at the county level. I've always believed start at zero, figure out what do you need, what works, what doesn't work, and then build your budget up, as opposed to, oh, it's there, so we'll just keep spending on it and then add to it. You don't get that. I don't think you get that as much in local government.
Well, we do, because we have different divisions. I mean, we have the assessor and the highway, and
Oh, yeah, true.
Yeah. So I mean, to some extent, we get that, and the reality of it is, if you want people to feel comfortable saying, hey, if I cut my spending, what if I need it later? Well, then you have to have a commitment to them. If you need it later, we'll give it to you.
Yes, that's the key.
If it's like, well, every year is like, well, you get a 2% increase, then you're going to have that mindset that I can never cut my budget because I'll never get it back. But if you say, hey, listen, I eliminated an employee, I can cut $50,000 out of my budget this year. But in 3 years, when we do the quadrennial again, I'm going to have to add an employee. Well, then we'll give it back to you in 3 years. And that actually works. But you got to have a comfort level that you're not just losing it.
Do you think PTEL itself, for those listening, it's property tax extension limitation law. Do you think the PTEL law discourages governments from looking at it that way?
No, I don't think so. But I do think anytime you put a cap on something, that is now the base. If you say the most you can raise something is 5%,
right,
you're raising it 5%.
Right.
So PTEL, if it wasn't for PTEL, that 5% would be 9%. So
you think it does limit it?
It does absolutely limit it.
Okay.
But it also provides a disincentive to only ask for 2%.
Right. Because if you ask for 2, you've lost that 2 forever.
Forever. You never get it. You never get it back.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit more deep dive after the break. We're sitting here with Lakeville Township Supervisor Dan Venturi, who's going to talk about, and Dan is up for election April 1st.
April 1st.
And he's going to, when we come back from the break, we're going to do a deep dive. Let Dan talk to you about what his visions are, what he's done, what he's proud of, and I don't know if we can make it work with questions or not. We're going to figure it out if we could figure out how to do questions. But thanks for joining us for the first hour. We're going to take a break, and we will be right back.
Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr will return in just a few moments after these important messages. Don't touch that dial.
It's time for the weather.
Buckle up, folks, because this afternoon we're dancing with some intermittent snow showers popping in around 5 p.m. Mostly cloudy skies will keep the spotlight dimmed and watch those temperatures fall a bit as the day goes on. Wind chill's got a bite, hanging around 4, and the breeze is coming in from the west-northwest at about 10 miles per hour. Tonight, those snow showers might stick around with a slight chance of more flurries. Lows dipping to a chilly 2 with wind chill flirting with 12. A gentle breeze keeps it cool from the west-northwest. And for Thursday, we're bringing back some sunshine. Highs near 21 with gusts picking up to 20 miles per hour. Keep it warm out there.
This is Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, offering title insurance and real estate services. Fidelity National Title facilitates secure closing processes for buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals. Anyone looking for more information can find them on the web at www.fntic.com. Fidelity National Title has offices located all throughout the U.S.
Here's the top stories in real estate today. According to a recent report from Realtor.com, the real estate market in the United States continues to show signs of stability as the year progresses. Despite various economic factors, nationwide home prices have increased by 2% in the last quarter. The report also noted that inventory levels are still below pre-pandemic figures, creating a competitive market environment for potential buyers. In local news, Cook County has initiated plans to improve affordable housing access across Chicago. As per a story in the Chicago Tribune, the new initiative includes an investment of $10 million towards the development of low-income housing units. The program aims to address the ongoing housing affordability crisis by 2025 and provide much-needed relief to residents facing skyrocketing rent prices. Meanwhile, Lake County is witnessing a boom in luxury residential developments. According to a report from the Lake County Journal, several new high-end properties have recently hit the market in premier locations, such as Lake Forest and Highland Park. These homes feature state-of-the-art amenities and are attracting affluent buyers from across the nation looking for suburban comfort with urban accessibility. In broader industry news, the National Association of Realtors shared insights on the recent surge in multifamily property investments. According to their findings, the demand for multifamily housing is rising sharply as investors seek stable returns amidst fluctuating stock market conditions. This trend suggests a growing interest in rental property investments, especially in urban areas where demand for apartments remains strong. Finally, noted real estate developer Sterling Bay is leading a major industrial development on the outskirts of Chicagoland. Per a report in the Daily Herald, the project will transform a 200-acre site into a mixed-use development combining industrial, commercial, and residential units. The initiative is expected to generate significant employment opportunities and drive economic growth in the region. Our top stories are brought to you by the Dick Barr Group at Village Realty, located at 1915 East Grand Avenue in Lindenhurst, Illinois. Homeowners who are interested in an instant market evaluation of their home or a full in-person market analysis can request one on their website at dickbarr.com, then clicking on Sell, then Home Evaluation. They can also be reached at 847-579-9736. That's it for now. We now return you back to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the loan specialists at the Sly Marinca team at Cross Country Mortgage, offering residential loan products and consultations for residential borrowers. Sly and his team can be reached at 847-722-1775 or via email at sly@ccm.com.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Lake County, it's time for Unlocking This Day in History on Unlocking Lake County. Brought to you by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, serving homeowners, buyers, and sellers with offices throughout Chicagoland and the entire country. Let's take a quick trip back in time to what happened today in history. All right, hop aboard the time machine and set the dial to February 19th as we zoom across the decades. It's February 19th, 1878, when Thomas Edison was granted a patent for his groundbreaking invention, the phonograph. That's right, folks. The device that would eventually evolve into your favorite vinyl record player first dropped its needle on this day back in the day. And now you can enjoy all the crackles and pops of classic records thanks to Edison's inventive genius. Now, let's slide on up to February 19th, 1945, when the American military bravely began the Battle of Iwo Jima during World War II. That's right. This iconic battle began its fiery and historic blaze across the Pacific. And remember that famous photograph of Marines raising the flag on Mount Suribachi? It all started right here on this very day. Fast forward to February 19th, 1968, and it's all about the music, baby. Mr. Electric Light Orchestra released their debut album, simply titled Electric Light Orchestra. It's the beginning of a time when symphonic rock gave many a teenager, and maybe some parents too, a reason to turn that dial all the way up. Let's not forget a giant leap for Lego lovers on February 19th, 1968, because the Lego brick patent was filed. These colorful little bricks have helped generations unleash their creativity and, well, caused a few sore feet in the process. But nothing beats the satisfaction of snapping together your own masterpiece. We now return you back to Unlocking Lake County with Dick, Kristen, and Sly.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You guys have a great radio station. You just play the best music.
Welcome back to Unlocking Lake County with your host, Dick Barr.
We're back. This is Dick Barr, your host of Unlocking Lake County, here with my beautiful co-host, Christin Kaufman.
Hello, everyone.
And special guest, the person you tuned in to listen to, Lakeville Township Supervisor Dan Venturi.
Hello, everybody.
Thanks for coming back. We're glad we didn't scare you away in the first hour.
First hour was fun.
Yes, it was. You're a good guest, too. Appreciate it. So, Dan, this is, as we've promised all candidates for Antioch Township, Lakeville Township, and the Village of Round Lake. So, between now and Election Day, every week will be a candidate from one of those races. Now, because there was not enough weeks before the election, some races will double up. So we'll have someone in the first hour and someone in the second hour. And that's cool. How we're going to solve that problem. But Dan, I'm going to turn it over to you. So basically, this is your forum to kind of talk about your history, what you've done, what you're proud of, what your vision is, and basically give the public what it wants to know.
Oh, thank you. Again, thanks for inviting me to come on today. And,
my pleasure.
And thanks for giving me 2 hours. So that was fun to do. Kind of a broad thing. Let me just step back a little bit and talk about what townships do.
Yeah, that was going to be one of the first questions that I had for you on behalf of our listeners.
No, you're
actually.
Good.
Yeah. Townships, there's a lot of confusion there. A township is the village for the unincorporated area, and that's not necessarily true. Villages have a lot of functions for zoning. They're going to land control, those types of services, generally sewer and water. In the unincorporated areas, though, the county takes care of that. So the role of the township is really to provide services that are otherwise unmet, both within the village and in the unincorporated area. So the township is, in Lake Villa's situation, we have Lindenhurst, Lake Villa, and we have parts around Lake Beach, parts of other villages as well. And all the services we provide are for all of those areas, whether they're in the unincorporated area or whether they're in the village. And I'd like to kind of categorize township services as kind of three things: either senior services, youth services, and general assistance programs. So I'll start a little bit with our general assistance program, where we kind of act as a safety net for people who find themselves in hardship. We operate a food pantry. We have an emergency assistance program where we'll help people with shutoffs. Their water's being shut off. They're being evicted. Those types of services that we provide. Generally, we are like the last resort. So if you're eligible for other programs, you're generally not going to be eligible for the programs at the township because we're the last resort. With the exception of our emergency assistance, we do help people with like an eviction notice. They're getting a 5-day notice. We generally are able to provide some money for that. And then we partner with other, we kind of facilitate Catholic charities that will provide some money for them. So we are able to be, people when they're in dire straits, able to help them. We also have a general assistance program, which is more of a longer-term program, and it provides like a monthly stipend if you have a long-term need. The big thing I think we help people with is we run our food pantry, and part of that food pantry is that it's actually run as a separate non-for-profit. We don't use any taxpayer money to run the food pantry.
Oh, wow.
And then we also have, we provide holiday meals, which is really rewarding. So we'll provide, for Thanksgiving, we'll provide a holiday meal, and we'll have about 70 families that'll come in, and we'll give them a ham or a turkey, stuffing, all of the fixings for a holiday meal. Similarly, we do that for Christmas. We'll provide a holiday meal for them. And then we also have a toy collection where we have gifts for children under the age of 12. And we put our boxes around and we collect at the local banks and at the township and the library. And it's Toys for Township Tots. So with all of that, we collect unwrapped toys. And then when the families come in for the holiday meal for Christmas, we have a room full of toys. And it's amazing how much stuff and how generous our community is to provide all of that. It works, everybody that comes in with kids, we can give them 4 or 5 different things, and they're usually pretty decent gifts. And hopefully they're getting some other things too, but at a minimum, they're going to get 4 or 5 different gifts that the parents pick out. We generally don't want them to bring the kids because they want to take it home, wrap it, and have it come from them.
Aw.
There was several years back, I was asked by another township to bring gifts in, and we went to the country walk and we asked the neighborhood, said, hey, there's a need for some significant things. One of them included a pretty extravagant gas bill. It was $1,000. I don't know how you rack up $1,000 gas bill going back 5 or 6 years. Today may be easier, but and there was a lot of toys on the list, and I was surprised the number of families in that township where they wanted us to just bring the gifts to them, and the kids answered the door knowing that these are the Christmas gifts. Oh. And I was surprised. So I like that you said that, because I would think that would be how most people would want it. So they kind of take it so they can wrap it and then be the giver of the gift. So I'm glad to hear that that's how it's done by you.
Well, and it's funny you say that, because through the years, we'll have groups, like maybe the Lions, Aquinas, or something that'll say, hey, we want to do some, Christmas meals, but we want to deliver them. And I've always said no, because I don't really want... there might be your neighbor that they don't want everyone to know that they're in need.
Right.
So, so we've always said, no, give it to us. We'll put a note on it saying the meal that was sponsored by the Lions Club. Lions Club gives us $500 or $1,000, depending how they did that year. Yep. And they actually help pay for some of the meals. The rescue squad, might have a fundraiser, and they'll give us money, and we'll put a note, acknowledging the gift from them. I'm not trying to, steal their credit, but I don't want people to feel, I don't want people to know that I'm in need.
There's a dignity aspect to it.
I love that, because I'm of the firm belief that there's absolutely no shame of ever falling on hard times and needing some help, but I do love that provides people the opportunity to keep their dignity intact if that's something that would otherwise challenge it.
Or, it would deter them from asking for assistance when they need it, because they don't want their neighbors to know about it.
Right.
So I've always been pretty firm on that, and it's worked, and I think everybody's understood that. I've never really gotten a lot of pushback on it. But, the key is that, we're there we have a great community that provides a lot of resources for us to help people out, and we're really happy to do that.
Yeah.
The other two areas that I talk about are youth services and senior services. And youth services, generally what we do is we provide facilities for programs. We provide parks. When I started many years ago, we had one park. We had Caboose Park. It's on Grand and Fairfield. It's where the Caboose is.
It's my favorite.
It's got a lot of character to it.
I spent quite a bit of time there as a kid.
Yeah, but it was like football. Football would use it in the fall, and baseball would use it in the spring and the summer. It worked out okay. The problem with football was that they're pretty hard on property, especially they're playing tackle. So if it was raining, they wouldn't cancel practice; they would still practice. Well, now the rest of the season they're just playing in a mud pit.
Yeah.
So we were lucky. We actually had a partnership with the Forest Preserve, and we were able to buy property across the street. They were actually buying 53 acres, and we bought 9 acres of it with them. And I think this is probably the only partnership the Forest Preserve's ever done.
Wow.
So they're they generally like to
Yes.
acquire property, but we had some support on the board. We were able to do that. So we bought 9 acres, and we were able to put in a football field, and that's the game field. And then we also put 2 extra baseball fields in. And so that worked out really well. So now they could practice, and at least if the Caboose Park field got muddy, they'd still have the game field, and it wouldn't take nearly the wear and tear, and then we could kind of regenerate it. We added soccer fields that over at Daring Park, and we put in 3 soccer fields. We bought 45 acres. Actually, it was a partnership with District 41, which was great. They had actually bought 70 acres to build a school. And then they built the school, and they had 45 acres left.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I can use that.
Yeah.
And it worked out good for us because it was zoned for agricultural,
Right.
but we don't care because we're a government entity. We don't care about zoning. So
I remember like, and the leases were ridiculously low too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we actually put in 3 soccer fields there. And generally our philosophy is we partner with not-for-profits. We're not a park district, so we don't operate a soccer program. We don't operate a football program. We don't operate a baseball program. We partner with not-for-profits, with volunteers, and then we provide them facilities.
Yeah.
So we mow the lawn for them. We help them out however we can. But it's very economical from a taxpayer standpoint, and we provide great services. And the people that are in it really have their heart in the right place, and they're really working. So our goal is to, like I said, to partner for youth sports is to provide partnerships. And the other thing that's been really good is, like the Tiny's Park, which is the football field, we were able to get grants for that. So it was like a $450,000 project. $450,000, and we got a $250,000 grant for that. Daring Park, we actually got an acquisition grant of $750,000, and then I think a development grant was $400,000.
Oh wow!
So we were able to leverage that quite a bit. It's very nice to leverage the taxpayer dollars into grants and develop these properties. Another one actually that was spoken at was I don't know if we have a property called Peacock Camp. Has a lot of history. It was actually back in the day it was Peacock Camp for crippled children. Back in the 30s, it was actually a summer camp for children. Back then was polio was prevalent. So it would be children could come there for 2 weeks. It was an overnight camp. For no charge. Yeah, it's great history, and it ran for many years. I think they estimated like 5,000 kids had gone to it. Wow. When we acquired it, we the nuts and bolts of the building were great, but it had been run down. Sure. Peacock Camp sold it to somebody who ran it as a private daycare or after school club. And kind of ran it down. So when we bought it, actually by the time we got it, because we ended up buying it from a bank that foreclosed on it, the person who had it, they took all the heating pipes and scrapped them, and so everything was gone. So we had to put in new HVAC, which worked out better than trying to put a Band-Aid on what was there. So we got to put in some money for HVAC. And we partnered with the high school on this, and we put in a high ropes course. We have a high ropes course, a low ropes course, and a zip line.
You got a zip line there?
We do have a zip line.
Wow.
You want to come over and try it?
Yes. Maybe after I lose a little weight.
I'll tell you. I'll give you the zip line if you do the pamper pole. The pamper pole, basically, you climb to the top of a telephone pole and you stand on it and then you jump off.
No way.
You do. That's what a pamper pole is.
No
All right.
thanks.
It is an adrenaline rush.
Maybe 20 years ago.
Yeah. I did it actually when we first put it in. I actually got certified. I try to be pretty hands-on in anything that we do there.
Yeah.
So I got certified so I could actually be the high ropes facilitator.
Fun.
I don't do that, but I know how to do it, so I can understand if somebody else has an issue. I understand what they're going through. So, it's a lot of fun. And then we run our summer camp there. We have our Peacock camp from first grade through 8th grade, and that's going on its 12th year.
Now, is that just like a general summer camp, or is that still geared towards like children with disabilities?
No, it's a general summer camp.
Okay.
It's a day camp, and it's kind of nice. I mean, it's a fun place for people to work and to attend. I mean, we have students, children that have been there, all the way through first grade to 8th grade, and some of them, become counselors. And the counselors come back. So we have 20 counselors, and we'll, on an average, have 14 of them will come back the next year.
Nice.
How do the finances of that work?
We actually we charge. I think we actually are raising our rate this year, so it's $200 a week. It ends up generating a profit. We have about 90 to 100 students that we can handle, and on an average, we probably run a profit of about $20,000 to $30,000. So it's profitable.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It actually is. And that's one of the few situations where we actually run the program. Like I said, most of them we reach out to not-for-profits.
Sure.
Right.
But that one there, actually, our staff runs it. And it's very successful. Kind of an interesting story. We have 2 counselors, and I was talking about counselors coming back. So 2 of the counselors were going to school to be teachers. So one of them is now a teacher at Antioch Grade School, and one's at Antioch High School. And one's on their 2nd year as a teacher, and they still come back in the summer as a counselor.
Oh my gosh.
So I mean,
wow.
So I think that says a lot for the camaraderie and the fun and and actually for doing it. And it's a great place. I mean, the property is it's 26 acres, but reality it's really only 13 acres. 13 acres of it is Crooked Lake.
Right.
So we actually have 26 acres, but we have a 600-foot beach on Crooked Lake. We have a swimming pool that was ADA accessible because they made it they actually rebuilt it like in the 70s, the original one. So it's got a wheelchair ramp and stuff like that. It's a nice swimming pool. We have the high ropes, which the young kids get to use.
Yeah.
And we recruit our counselors from Lakes High School, the kids that are actually taking the high ropes course, because the high school uses it for their outdoor education.
Oh, okay.
So the high school uses it almost on a daily basis, either the high ropes course or the boat. We have a pier, so they'll use it for fishing. They'll use it for kayaking or canoeing. So the high school uses it quite a bit. But the high school is now teaching their kids to facilitate the high ropes, and then we hire those kids as our counselors in the summer.
Oh,
so we have like
neat.
a free training course.
That's
so
awesome.
It's a great partnership. I mean, it's a win-win all the way around.
Fantastic.
So that kind of covers our youth activities. We try to like I said, partner to provide those. And then the other thing we do is for seniors.
Mm-hmm.
We do different kinds of things. We have our senior lunches, which are real popular.
Yeah.
We do.
I've been to those. Those are great.
They are.
And they fill the place.
We do. We do St. Patrick's Day, and we actually have corned beef and cabbage. And for years, what we did is the village of Lake Villa would have their St. Patrick's Day parade on Saturday, and we would do our senior lunch on Friday. And then one of the employees from the village, who was also happened to be a trustee at the township, was the one who was actually making the corned beef. So he would make the corned beef for us, and then he'd make it for the village all at the same time.
Nice.
So, and Glennie's still making our corned beef. So we enjoy that. So we have corned beef and cabbage for St. Patrick's Day, and that's always the Friday before St. Patrick's Day.
It's coming up.
It is coming up.
Yeah.
We're actually just sending out, I think the invites are going in the mail tomorrow.
Oh.
I'm if you've not been, the Lake Villa St. Patrick's Day parade and the VFW afterwards is the best party in town. It is the best St. Patrick's parade north of Chicago, in my opinion.
Wow.
Might be the only one.
We had a couple a few years back that actually got married in the parade.
Oh, really?
They were on a trailer and they actually got married.
Cool for them.
So, yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's interesting because St. Patrick's Day, the weather could be 80 degrees or it could be 10 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
It has a wide variety. I generally dress up as a leprechaun both for the lunch and the parade. But, yeah, I guess you got to have some modesty there.
Yeah, you never know what you're going to get. My birthday is the week before that, and I never know what to plan for my birthday. For that reason, I'm like, it could be a blizzard. It could be super nice outside. No idea.
Yep.
It's good weather.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else more about what the township does that you want to get into before maybe talking about what you still want to accomplish?
Yeah, no, I just briefly, our senior lunches and then transportation. We do. One of the problems with transportation in Lake Villa Township is PACE service is extremely limited.
Right.
Round Lake is lucky. In Round Lake, they have maybe 6 different programs, dial-a-ride, fixed routes. They have lots of those. The fixed route ends at Walmart on 83. And if you want the dial-a-ride or any of the other programs, you have to be within a half mile of a fixed route. So basically, from PACE's standpoint, we don't have virtually any transportation. Going back many years, we started a program called Township Transit, where we partnered with Antioch, Grant, and Lake Villa Township. And Lake Villa actually administers it. And we do shopping trips, so it's destination-based. And we kind of figured out through the years where the most popular destinations were. The most popular, by far, was the Antioch Walmart. For whatever reason, they didn't want the Round Lake Walmart. It's the Antioch Walmart.
That damn stigma.
So, I do think the people at the Antioch Walmart were nicer to them. They were more accommodating. That's kind of my read. So anyways, now we every Tuesday we do our shopping run, and we'll run like 3 bus loads. We pick them up at their house. We take them to Walmart. Drop them off, and then our driver Jim goes back and picks up another load, and he actually now up to 3 loads that he'll do. He'll take 3 people there and then take the first group back.
That's great.
Yeah, so we lease a bus from Pace, and we have a regular driver on Tuesday. He also doubles as a driver for Grand Township the other days. And if we get in a bind, I got my certification and my CDL, so I can fill in as a bus driver. So I have, in the event, we get in a bind, I'm always happy to drive.
Got a bus driver, a high ropes course instructor.
Yeah,
whatever. Do a little bit of it all, huh?
Well, as I said, I've always tried to be hands-on.
Yeah.
Not that I want to be the bus driver, or not that I want to be the...
You just want to make sure it's done.
I want to make sure it's done. 1, we have a backup in case we need it. And 2, I can better understand what's being done if I know how to do it.
Absolutely.
So
and you're not above doing it.
No, not at all. I enjoy doing it. That's probably my passion. That's what I like doing. That I like doing construction projects, and that's really what I'm really proud of. Is we've gone from when I started, we had 20 acres of what we'll call active recreational land, and now we have about 120 acres of active recreational land. And I usually say active recreational because I want to distinguish it from forest preserve, which does a good job, but they're more hiking trails.
Sure.
They're not passive. They don't want a baseball bat on their properties. So my
if
my
the
goal
forest
is,
preserve had its way, wouldn't even be trails. They would just like to kind of reclaim the old prairies.
you could have some birds flying around.
Right.
There. Yeah, and that would be fine. So my thought is, active recreational, and we have, a lot of it. And we have a pretty small crew that maintains it all. So it works out pretty well.
Yeah.
You know, I got to say, because I always looked at it as the township for Lake Villa, you're basically the park district for the community of Lake Villa, because they don't have a park district. Lindenhurst has one, Round Lake Beach has one. But the price tags that come with those park districts, it's steep. You know, when you take away the schools, I think my park district is probably my most expensive tax item. Maybe the fire department, but the park district is up there. Lake Villa, people who live in Lake Villa, unincorporated Lake Villa, they don't have the park district. You're like the cheapest thing on my bill.
We are actually.
Yeah.
We are now like 2% of the real estate tax bill.
Okay.
I think is what we're down to. We are the smallest chunk of your real estate tax bill.
Does that
No
2% include pensions, or is it, that includes?
That's
okay,
the whole township.
Most politicians, when they come in here, they say, "Oh, we're only the 1%," because they ignore the pension side of it. So you're 2% including the pensions.
2% including the pension.
Yeah. Okay.
So you do a lot with a little.
Yeah, we do. And that, as I said before, our program, we provide facilities for not-for-profits to provide the sports. So we're still providing the programs, and we're not spending all the money. We are we're helping them as much as we can, because a not-for-profit's not going to be able to go buy a 50-acre soccer field. But we can partner with Lindenhurst area soccer club, and they have like 600 boys or kids, boys and girls, in their program.
Yeah.
And we provide the facilities, we mow the lawns for them, and they provide the skill, the coaching, the scheduling, the games, the tournaments, and it works out. It doesn't cost the taxpayer as much at all.
And when my girls played iceless hockey, I know they were always in the
Gavin North.
At Gavin North, yeah. Jonathan plays the boys iceless hockey now, but they go to Palumbia, so not the Palumbia, the school. One of the biggest one of the biggest topics I ever received phone calls about on the county board was water, drainage, flooding. Is that the same thing with the township?
We do. Well, we don't get it isn't as often, but when we get them, they're pretty desperate.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So that's really when we have our problems. I mean, we had 2017. We had that was the flood.
I'll never forget.
Yeah.
Well, my calls were anytime the phone would ring. I knew it was one of two things. It was either too wet, or it was too dry, and the lake's disappearing, and the water line is shrinking, and the next call was my neighbor built a dog house, and now my basement floods. And I know you guys deal quite a bit with drainage.
We do actually. We had a pretty major drainage project that the township did. We finished it about 3 years ago, and it was a result of 2017. I mean, that's when it really came to light.
Yeah,
we had an area, and what would happen is our drainage for the most part all goes into the chain, so Fox Lake, and for years the I would call it the dam management of it, and literally the dam.
Yes.
Would the water level would come up, and it would be above the ground level. Well, you're not going to stop the chain from coming into your neighborhood, but they've gotten a lot better at managing it. They draw the water down before they anticipate the flood coming. 2017, they got 3 inches of rain in 12 hours, and there was nothing you could do about it.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. Let me digress a little bit. I mean, I was in New Orleans at a seminar, and they had 5 inches of rain in an hour. And you just think of how much water that is, because you're not saying it isn't coming up 5. You got all of the water draining into wherever that area. So 5 inches is 15 inches by the time it gets to the lake.
Right.
So our system is, if we stay under 2 inches, if we get more than 2 inches in a 12-hour period, we're going to have some drainage issues. Luckily, that doesn't happen too often.
Yeah.
That happens in 2017. We actually bought a house and tore it down and turned it into a detention area. That was the only way we could really solve it. And then we actually have, from that detention area, there's 3 pipes that lead into Fox Lake or Columbia Bay. But that's not enough. Ultimately, we're waiting for a house to come available that we can get a lakefront and run a pipe to the lake. That'll be the ultimate fix of it. So we're just waiting for something to come available, and hopefully we'll be able to solve it. But we get 99% of the problem is solved.
Can you use, like, when that comes available, is there FEMA money available to be able to acquire it and do that work?
Well, you could Yes and no. We did get some grants for our project. Stormwater management was pretty good. I think our project was about the phase we did was about maybe $350,000, and we got about $75,000 from stormwater management.
Okay,
they were good,
right.
but they don't have huge grants.
Right.
But the problem is when the property comes available, you got to be able to move on it. You can't say, you want to sell your house, we're going to apply for a grant and we should hear back in 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to kind of be in a position to be able to move on it now. Maybe the development of it, you could wait for the development, but sometimes you gotta move on it pretty quick.
And the laws of Illinois don't really give you guys much leeway for being able to kind of sit on money waiting for that day to be able to pop it. We're going to take one more break, and then we'll be back to finish up with Dan Venturi, Lake Villa Township Supervisor. So we'll be back.
Thank you.
Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr will return in just a few moments after these important messages. Don't touch that dial.
It's time for the weather.
A mix of clouds and snowflakes is on the menu this afternoon with a west.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3, The Life.
It's the best station on the radio.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Dick Barr Group at Village Realty, offering both residential and commercial real estate services across northeastern Illinois. Their office is located at 1915 East Grand Avenue in Lindenhurst, or they can be found online at www.dickbarr.com for a personal real estate experience. They can also be reached at 847-579-9736. The Dick Barr Group. Your property goals are their mission. Here's the top stories in real estate today. According to a report from the Chicago Tribune, the Chicagoland area is seeing a significant surge in demand for warehouse and logistics space due to the ongoing boom in e-commerce. With companies like Amazon expanding their footprint, the need for storage and distribution facilities is driving up prices and competition among developers. This trend parallels the national shift towards e-commerce, reflecting changing consumer habits and impacting local real estate dynamics in Cook County and beyond. In Lake County, as reported by Lake County News Sun, efforts are being made to revitalize the downtown areas of several towns, including Waukegan and Libertyville. Local municipalities are investing in infrastructure improvements and incentivizing business developments to attract both commercial and residential interest. These initiatives aim to boost local economies and enhance the appeal of these communities to new residents and businesses alike. Nationally, per a recent piece in the Wall Street Journal, the commercial real estate market continues to face challenges due to rising interest rates. While high-quality properties in prime locations remain strong, secondary markets are experiencing a slowdown in investment activity. This change is prompting a reevaluation of asset values and strategies among investors, with a focus on adapting to a higher interest rate environment. Closer to home, a report from Daily Herald highlights a growing trend in McHenry County, where more homeowners are opting to add accessory dwelling units to their properties. Driven by increased need for intergenerational living spaces and potential rental income, local zoning laws are being revised to accommodate these changes. This shift reflects a broader trend towards maximizing property utility and generating additional income streams. Finally, per historian Forbes, green building practices are becoming increasingly popular across the United States, with Chicago at the forefront. Developers in Cook County and across the metropolitan area are incorporating sustainable materials and technologies into new projects. This movement is not only environmentally beneficial, but is also becoming a key selling point for buyers and renters who are more conscious of their carbon footprint and energy consumption. Our top stories are brought to you by the Dick Barr Group at Village Realty, located at 1915 East Grand Avenue in Lindenhurst, Illinois. Homeowners who are interested in an instant market evaluation of their home or a full in-person market analysis can request one on their website at dickbarr.com.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder and Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas, including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder and Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder and Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Lake County, it's time for Unlocking This Day in History on Unlocking Lake County. Brought to you by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, serving homeowners, buyers, and sellers with offices throughout Chicago, land in the entire country. Let's take a quick trip back in time to what happened today in history. All right, time travelers, buckle up. We're heading to February 19th, 1878. Picture this. Thomas Edison is about to make history, and he did it with a little something we all take for granted today. It was on this exact day that Edison patented the phonograph. That's right, the invention that made it possible to record and reproduce sound for the first time. Before Spotify, before compact discs, before cassette tapes, there was Edison's phonograph, the OG of music players. Fast forward to February 19th, 2008, and we find ourselves immersed in the digital realm, where Toshiba pulls the plug on their HD DVD business. That's a big high five for Blu-ray discs, which clearly won the battle for supremacy of high definition, since it wasn't long before we all started collecting those sleek blue boxes for our movie collections. Hold on to your hats, kids of the 80s, because on this day in 1985, nearly 37 years ago, the ultimate symbol of national pride, Mickey Mouse, emblazoned with his star-spangled enthusiasm, is given the enviable honor of having a star on Hollywood's Walk of Fame. That's right, America's favorite mouse earned his own piece of concrete real estate, and that's your whirlwind tour for today, February 19th in history. We now return you back to Unlocking Lake County with Dick, Kristen, and Sly.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Your favorite show right here on 98.3 FM.
98.3, The Life.
Welcome back to Unlocking Lake County with your host, Dick Barr.
And welcome back, Lake County. This is Dick Barr, your host of Unlocking Lake County, here with Christin Kaufman.
Hey.
And our special guest in the studio, Lake Village Township Supervisor Dan Venturi.
Hello.
Thanks again for coming back for this last half hour. Well, it's going to be shorter than that. But Christin, I know during the break you had a question you wanted to ask.
I did. I'm going to save it, though, because I know you want to talk about...
sorry.
No, you're okay. I know you want to talk about some of the things that you would like to do moving forward first.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks again for sticking around. One of the projects that I talked about is doing parks and providing facilities for youth sports. One of the things we also are very popular with is our parks. We have a lot of people know Caboose Park. That's the one where there's a Caboose Monument.
I love the toboggan run.
We have lots of playground equipment, the toboggan ride, the sled hill. It's kind of funny, when I first started as supervisor, the first thing I did was call our insurance company and say, hey, we have a sled hill. And we have Torma Insurance, which is great. It's a co-op of all the townships. And the guy came out there and he said, oh, this looks like a lot of fun. I should bring my kids. And I was thinking he's going to say, hey, you can't have a sled hill. Come on. So he said, no. He goes, you put up a sign that says sled at your own risk and you're good.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
So I said, God bless you. That's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have the sled hill. One of the things we've always tried to expand it, one of the things we've tried repeatedly was to do an ice skating rink. The problem we've had is, our winters, like right now, it's cold. Ice would freeze, but Saturday it's going to be 30 degrees and we're going to lose the ice. And then by the time, then it's going to get crushed and we never get it back again. So our experience is that our ice skating rinks last about a week at the most in a given year. And some years you don't even get it to freeze at all. Or people will go out there before it's fully frozen and it'll crack, and then we have the same problem. So one of the things I always wanted to do was having a refrigerated ice rink. So that part of my plan. The other thing is we noticed that we have 2 tennis courts, which we've restriped so they can be used for pickleball or tennis. And I think everyone knows pickleball has become very popular, especially in my age group. So it's a lot of fun, and our tennis courts are used almost exclusively for pickleball. So we were thinking that maybe we could expand that. So I had some communication with District 41. They had, when they thought the population was going to boom, they had bought some property off Fairfield and Grand Avenue. As soon as they closed on it, the 2008 hit, and the population boom stopped.
Yep.
So they never built that. So they still had some property. So I've always talked, I have open lines of communication with everybody. And they said, if you come up with an idea and you need a portion of that property, we'd love to see it be used, because right now it's a cornfield. So we came to, had some discussion, and I said, well, if I could come up with a plan for about 5 acres of it, would you be receptive? And they said, yeah, let us know what you want to do. So my idea was to do my ice skating rink, also pickleball, and then some people had suggested maybe doing some community gardens.
Oh.
So we kind of had a focus group, and we had some town hall meetings, and we had people come in. And surprisingly, the biggest demand was the community gardens. So the original concept was we were going to have like 4 or 5 of these community gardens. Some people would come in. So we now have 16 community gardens in the plan, which is fun. And then we had, the area. The original concept was the ice skating rink and the pickleball, but we've kind of developed that, and it's going to be the same pad. So in the winter, we're going to have a refrigerated ice rink. We'll actually have a chiller. So instead of being dependent on weather, as long as it's below 40 degrees, we'll be able to have ice.
Wow.
So we're going to have an ice skating rink from November till maybe March.
That's fantastic.
And you won't have to go when it's 10 below zero. And we have ice skating boards for hockey. They're 40 by 70. Somebody had donated to us years ago, and that's kind of when we started the ice skating rink. So we're going to have 2 sets of those. So we'll have 2 rinks of 40 by 70, or we'll have one that'll be 80 by 70, and that'll be kind of like the free skate. During other times, it'll just be, we'll have hockey in one and kind of free skate in the other.
Will it also be at your own risk, or will it be manned and...
No, it'll be open to the public, like our sled hill.
Oh, yeah.
But there will be availability to do scheduled time.
Sure.
So obviously hockey, if we got some teams that want to use it for a scheduled time, we'll do that. When it's not being used for them, it'll be open to the public.
Cool.
Or maybe one rink will be scheduled and one will be open. So a lot of that's kind of in flux depending on the demand.
See, that's great, because I take Jonathan to Gurney, I forget what they call it, the ice rink in the Gurney Mills.
Yeah.
And they only have very limited availability for the open skate, because it's mostly teams and organizations.
Yeah,
and the schools.
And sometimes they're skating at 3 o'clock in the morning to get ice time.
Yeah.
My goodness.
It's amazing that, how much of demand it is. So, but my goal would be to at least have half of the rink available for community skating. Maybe we'd have one that we'd make available for teams.
Cool.
How exciting.
Yeah, so we're really excited about that. And then also, it'll give us the opportunity in the summer, we'll take, obviously turn the chiller off, and we'll have pickleball courts.
or run the chillers and you don't sweat.
That's right. Refrigerated. It'll probably be more expensive than running just in air conditioning.
Probably.
But we'll have a warming shelter. We'll have basically it's the same as what we build for our concession stands. We'll have a warming shelter, so you'll be able to, while the kids are skating, parents can sit in the warming shelter and watch them.
Fantastic.
You had me at hello.
So the question that I have for you, because I think a lot of people don't really understand why this is. So you mentioned that you have parts of Round Lake, you've got Lake Villa, you've got parts of different towns in your township.
Yes.
And that's true for a lot of the towns in the area. Why is that, and what is the difference?
You got to think, when the original Constitution for Illinois was set up, it was for the most part set up as a township form of government. So Lake County was divided up into 18 townships. So They're actually each section. They were generally about 36 square miles each, and they actually each section is 1 mile by 1 mile.
Mm-hmm. We have to learn that in real estate courses.
Yeah, section township range.
Yes.
East of the third.
And when was the last time you
meridian.
used it?
When I had to take my real estate license exam.
There you go. So what happened was, we had Antioch Township, and then directly south of Antioch Township was Avon Township, and then over a little bit to the east was west was Grant Township.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the powers that be back in the 1900s decided that people had traveled too far to vote, and they should probably create a new township. So Lake Villa Township was actually carved out of Antioch Township. We took actually 13 square miles, and then Avon Township we took 12 square miles, and then Grant Township we took 1 square mile, one little corner, which happened to be the corner that the guy who was the township supervisor lived in.
No shenanigans there.
Yeah. So interesting story, and it was quite the ruckus because in order to do it, you had to have. Make sure you had at least 200 voters in the new township and each of the old townships. How much time? Yeah, we got some time.
Yeah, you get time.
Okay, so you had to have at least 200 voters left in each of the remaining townships, and you needed a petition signed by 75% of the voters in the new township.
Of the registered voters.
Of the registered voters.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a high hurdle.
It's voters. Yeah, and they all had to sign the petition. So they actually had that. They had, I think there was 278 voters, and they had 238 people sign the petition. So they filed the petition, and then somebody else went around to all these people, and of the 238, they got 26 of those people to say, no, I want to withdraw my name from the petition.
Sounds like a Madigan deal.
So then the people that the original petition followed them around, and then they had 13 of those people sign saying, I signed the original petition, and I signed the petition withdrawing my name from the petition. I now want to withdraw my name from the withdrawing petition.
Oh my goodness.
And it ended up coming down to one individual, and his name was William Geldon. If you're familiar with Geldon Road, my suspicion is it was named after him.
Wow.
Actually he said, my name was on the withdrawal petition, but I didn't mean to sign that. So ultimately the petition was signed, and they formed Lake Villa Township, and that was in 1912, and the first township supervisor was elected in 1913. Now, Dick, you had asked a question, I don't know if it was on the air or otherwise, about the county board makeup. Back in that day, the county board was the county board of supervisors. So the Lake County Board was actually made up of all of the supervisors in the county.
That makes sense to me.
It does make sense because you had somebody with roots in each district,
Right.
and it was actually a defined district, and it worked pretty well.
Creates population issues, but
it did, because
yes.
you'd have a township with 3,000 people, and you might have another township with 20,000 people.
Right.
So that was probably one of the drawbacks of that. So, but they had the county board of supervisors, and that continued until Illinois had redid their constitution in 1970. So in 1970, they changed it to county board districts and then the supervisors. But what they did was kind of interesting, was they normally, you have conflict of interest, conflicting offices. So for example, you can't be a township supervisor and a mayor. Apparently, Runyard apparently does. So, but you actually
Henyard.
Henyard, yeah. Apparently you can. But actually, you can't be a township supervisor and a trustee. But you might be able to be a mayor. But one of the things when they had redid the Illinois Constitution, they specifically provided that a township supervisor could be a county board member. They did that because at the time the county board members were the township supervisors.
Right, it was already happening.
So they made that, and that made a lot of sense. There's a lot of movement now to kind of change that and say, you know what, either you're going to be a supervisor or a county board member to be different. But technically right now you can be a county board member and a township supervisor, but you can't be a county board member and be a township trustee.
Right.
So you can't be the head of the township, but you could be, but you can be the head of the township, but you can't be just one of the trustees. So a little bit of a history lesson, but I kind of think there's some momentum to change it so that you can't be a township supervisor and a county board member.
I mean, to me, it makes sense. I won't step on your time too much. It makes sense to separate those because there are conflicts, and even though there's a legal allowance of the situation, there's situations where you will have to recoup because the county gets into contract with the township all the time.
Yes.
And if you look at other parts of the law is pretty strict on conflict of interest. You can't technically recuse yourself from a conflict, and if you're holding an office, you have to be able to support the constituents of that office at all times without recusal. Part of the problem with Illinois law, I think it's very contradictory.
But I think the reason made sense when they did it.
It does 100% because you had a lot of people who were in those roles. Exactly,
yes.
Absolutely. But seeing it today,
and I agree. Going forward, I think there's a lot of momentum to change that, and I think for good reason.
You think that's ultimately for the best?
I do. I think there's a lot of qualified people out there, and you're wearing different hats. And as Dick pointed out, sometimes you do have a conflict. And you know what? What's your priority? Is it the role of the township, or is it the role of the county? As I said before, the county is the one that does like the zoning. Building and zoning is all at the county level. That's not at the township level. So it's like different. It's a different function. Sometimes I pull my hair out, and I wish the county board would listen to me more. But I'm not afraid to call them, and I talk to them pretty regularly when I have to.
And I got to say, Dan, when I was on the board, I enjoyed working with you. I enjoyed working with you, especially because we had the drainage issues. You were always answering your phone when I called. I had them. You and Jim did, I think, great jobs of kind of working with us to make sure the constituents good. What I like hearing the most is the partnerships with schools, partnerships with villages, partnerships with 501c3s to provide all of these things. And those partnerships are that kind of combination of government services that means less cost to the taxpayer. And that's what I like to hear.
I don't know that there's anything I've done without a partnership. I mean, part of it is, communications. I talk to all of the mayors all the time. We have lunch once a month at least, and I see them more regularly than that. County board members, I see them regularly. And a lot of the stuff isn't, it's not I send them a letter saying I have a request. It's a common conversation. It's like, hey, what's going on here? What's going on with this property? And that's how a conversation starts or an idea comes about. You've got to be, in communication on a regular basis to know what's going on. And you'll understand what their obstacles are, and then you can work through them. And it's been very productive, and it's a good system.
If you had to go back however long and start again, would you go the same path? Would you get into this position? Would you become a supervisor? And would you have stuck around to keep it up?
I would definitely. I love my job, and I wouldn't ask for any other job. Would I have done everything the same? No. I've made some mistakes.
And my question was more of, do you enjoy it enough that if you had to tell young you whether or not to go forward in this, would you tell him to do it?
I would absolutely tell him to do it, because it's been kind of the joy of my life. I've really enjoyed it.
That's awesome.
It is awesome. What do they say? When you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. I think today, it would be harder today starting out for someone getting into politics, because everything is so divisive. What I do like, and Kristen, you and I talk about this all the time, is the beauty of local politics.
Yep.
It's not partisan. I mean, mostly not. Sometimes it does get, but mostly it's nonpartisan. And, you don't know if that person's a this or a that. It's just people who love the community working together to provide the community what they want.
Right. It's an opportunity to vote for the person over the party.
Yeah.
Because you may not necessarily align with that person's personal political beliefs on the larger scale, but you can look at a particular politician and decide they're doing a lot for our community. I like them as an individual, and I'm still going to continue to vote for them.
It's I got a call not that long ago. Potential seller says, "Hey, I want to sell my house. Can you come give me So I'm doing my listing presentation, and they said, "You by the way, I hate your Facebook. I hate your politics." I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Did you just invite me in to yell? And he says, no, we want to use you. Yeah. We see what you do. So I'm like, okay, good.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we all have something that we have goals that we want accomplished, and who's the best person to get it done? It's the same thing with politics.
And that's what I like about local politics.
I want to address your question about it. Politics are too divisive today. I think if you look back in history, they were divisive
Just your
forever.
history, your story that you told
The
us.
story where the people were chasing him around saying, no, you signed their petition, now sign my petition. It says the other way around. And even, Abe Lincoln, the story was that, his campaign printed counterfeit tickets to the convention, and he had...
Yeah.
Really?
So, I mean, I don't think politics were ever non-divisive. I think it changes now. It's just...
You're
We all
kind
have
of right.
social media now. We can't unknow
social
what
media
everybody thinks and where everyone stands, and we're just constantly bombarded with everyone's political opinion all the time. We can't avoid it. Even
That's
when you
so
actively
frustrating.
try to avoid it, you can't avoid it.
I agree. That's probably the biggest change, is the fact that it's instantaneous.
Yes.
You had
Everyone
it-
knows.
And
At
you're
least-
bombarded with it.
You actually had to go knock on their door if you wanted to tell them
Right.
something
Yeah.
before. That's a lot different than sitting home and just typing something on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah. The and seriously, who wants to hear anyone's political opinion that's not mine? Dan, I want to thank you very much. It's 2:00 and we're done for the week. I want to thank you so much for joining us. Hey, after election day, feel free to stop by anytime you want
I'd
to
love
talk
to.
to
Yeah,
the,
you're a
to the
great
public.
guest.
You're a great guest. You're fantastic. I want to thank everyone for listening, and I think I missed the top of the hour legal ID. That's okay. I can fix that. So we're gonna work our way out. Thanks for listening to us. We'll be back next week with the 26th. Who's that? I think Linda Lucasen, Round Lake Park Mayor, will be here next week. And check us out if you want to learn more about who's running to run your community. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Dick Barr. Have a great week.
Thank you.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the heart of our community, exploring the ins and outs of real estate and meeting the people who make Lake County truly remarkable. Remember, every property has a story, and every community member holds a key to unlocking our county's full potential. Don't miss out on discovering more hidden gems and expert insights. Make sure to tune in every Wednesday at 12 noon for another episode of Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr. Until then, keep exploring, keep dreaming, and keep unlocking the possibilities that await you in Lake County. Thank you for listening, and see you next week.
Yeah.